Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night segment of Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Syracusa, and Phil Syracusa. We are broadcasting live from the International Public Radio and the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. This evening's show is fully sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for their sponsorship. We love them. You have to do a few things in order to participate. Go over to the YouTube channel, UFO Paranormal Radio or International Public Radio. You can also go into all the Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, also Twitch, SoundCloud, Podbeam. Also go over to our group, Horsefly Chronicles Radio. And if you have any questions for our guests, please ask. So tonight, guys, we're going to welcome back Mr. Rick McCallum to the show. Rick began his stunt career in 1982, performing a fight scene with Chuck Norris on the film Lone Wolf McQuade, and has more than 75 credits to his name. Rick has performed in numerous action and horror movies. He's trained actors, actresses in fights, falls, and weapons. Rick, along with Kane Hodder, are the founders of the Hollywood Ghost Hunters. Rick is also the author of his book, Ghosts Believe in Me, which won the 2020 Paranormal Awards Book of the Year. You can find his book on Amazon.com. And you can find out more about Rick on his Facebook page, Hollywood Ghost Hunters, and his website at HollywoodGhostHunters.com. So please, let's welcome Rick to the show.
Welcome.
Yay!
Well, thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, good to see you. It's been a while. And we always like to ask our guests, you got a pretty big resume, obviously.
And we've talked to you before, obviously, but if
for the new listener, this is a big show. So for the new listener out there, can you tell everyone how you got started with acting and then how it transcended into the paranormal?
Well, it was actually just the opposite. I started off in the paranormal when I was 13, and when I was like 25, I got into the stunt business. So I already had 12 years of ghost hunting under my belt before I started in the movie business. As far as getting into the movie business, I'd always wanted to do stunts ever since I was a little kid. And finally, I came out to California and started bugging everybody until somebody finally took me on a movie. And from there, I met other people, and it just kept going. So that's pretty much how it happened.
Tell us about the first paranormal experience. Let's start with that.
Okay. My grandfather had died very suddenly from one of those, cleaning your gun accidents. And my mother didn't have very much money, and he wanted to be buried in Paducah, Kentucky. And we lived in Chicago. So we put his body on the train, and we went to Paducah by train. And when we got off there, they took his body to the funeral home. And we were looking for a cheap place to stay because this all happened like boom. I mean, one day and the next day we were going. And we didn't have a hotel room or anything. So we just started walking, to try and find the closest place to the funeral home. And we came across this thing that looked like it should have been in a horror movie, a 2-story brick building, with neon flashing outside, the whole atmosphere. And we walked in and my mom said, do you have a room? And the guy goes, yeah. He says, my mother says, well, how much is it? And he told her, and she could afford that. So he goes, but I have to tell you, that room is haunted. And I was 13 years old at the time. I was like, woohoo! Golden ticket to Disneyland, haunted room, yes, right? So we go up there, and the room is rectangular, width-wise, and it's all wood. It looks almost like a basketball court or volleyball court. And our beds were on rollers, and they're on the far sides, probably 20 feet apart, right? And we'd had a long day, a lot of emotion, so we just hit the sack. And in the middle of the night, I heard my mother scream. So I woke up and I looked, and her bed's just flying across the floor. And I suddenly realized that my bed is flying across the floor, going the other way, and they smashed in the middle, right? And we just sat there and looked at each other for like 5 seconds. And finally, my mother says, well, I guess the guy downstairs is right. So wow. we tried everything to figure out, where the floor's warped. We tried rolling a glass set, didn't work. I shoved the bed as hard as I could. It went about 3 feet. we had no answer for that. And as I like to show people, this way, I was hooked.
Wow, that's a lot of energy from the other side to do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact we were warned before we ever got up there was pretty cool.
Yeah, most people won't do that. They don't warn you.
Tell us about like what happened after that, like the next paranormal experience, and what made you like, be a believer and really dig into it.
Well, I had small things happen a lot, but it wasn't until I got into college that I started doing more. And I started going out to places like Bachelor's Grove, and sitting out there in the middle of the night to see what I could come up with, and other places like Joliet Branch Prison I went to. And this is before any ghost hunting shows were on TV. I mean, you call up, say you want to go ghost hunting, they thought you were crazy. But I managed to bamboozle my way into a lot of places. But when it really started amping up for me, my dad and I had not got along for a long time. And he had called me to come down and visit him in Texas, and I hadn't seen him for like 8 years. So I said, all right, I'll come in a couple of weeks. And right after that, a little long story, but it's cool. My mother was going to a flea market, and she asked if I wanted anything. And I said, can you get me a small pillow so I got something to hang on to, because I got arms like an orangutan. When I sleep, they're all over the place. I'm like sleeping with an anaconda, like, ah. Yeah. So she got me a little round red satin pillow. Now, is there anything about me that looks like I should have a round satin red pillow in my bedroom? I mean, as you can see from my back, there's no color in my bedroom. It just, but anyway, I was sleeping, and all of a sudden I woke up, I was face down, and I knew somebody was standing next to me. I knew it with every fiber of my being, and I thought there was a burglar in the house. And I didn't want to move because I figured he's watching me and he'll kill me, right, before I have a chance to do anything. Well, all of a sudden it went away, right? And I got up and I looked around, and nobody there. Well, this happened like maybe 3 more times, right? So my friend was going to go down to Texas with me. And as we're driving down there, I told him about this. I said, it's the weirdest thing. I feel like there's somebody standing right next to me. Anyway, we got down to my dad's house. More real weirdness. If you get the book, it's called Ghosts Believe in Me, and each one of these steps is filled in. And like you said, it's a pretty good book. It won the book of the year. So, but there's a lot of weird stuff. Like when I got down there, something had happened, and then my dad and Tom, they had been away. They had gone to drop a guy off at the bar to pick his car up, which I thought was really kind of stupid. But, take a guy to a bar to pick up his car. Anyway, something happened, and my dad came in, and he tells me. Now, I had told my friend Tom about this thing, right? And he'd been to my bedroom because he helped me move some stuff in there, and he teased me about the red satin pillow. And my dad starts telling me, he goes, yeah, I felt real bad. I hadn't talked to you for a long time. He says, so I started, just kind of dropping in on you at night. I said, what do you mean dropping in at me at night? And he says, well, I would see you laying in bed sleeping. And Tom looks over at me, and I looked at him, and I didn't say anything. I said, what does my bedroom look like? Because my dad's never been to our house. He didn't know anything about it. I haven't talked to him for 8 years, right? My bedroom was roughly 8 feet long by about 6 feet wide. It was very, very small. And he says to me, he goes, your bedroom, he says, it looks like a closet. It's so small. I said, yeah, really? I said, anything else that's interesting? He goes, yeah, you're always hugging this round red satin pillow. Wow. And I mean, the shivers went up my spine and everything else. And my friend Tom's looking at me, and I've never had that happen since. So that was another. Yeah, that was something else that really got me going. And that house that my dad lived in the book, I called the chapter where all the stuff goes on at that house, the most haunted house in America, and it's not even close. And I mean it. I've never been anywhere as haunted as that house was.
What do you think's going on over there?
Well, supposedly there were 3 guys that were gangsters back in Bonnie and Clyde days. Some people said they were with Bonnie and Clyde. Other people said no. But from what I understand, from what I was told, that these guys were finally cornered. They would go down to this mansion where supposedly they lived, and they could never find them, right? Well, finally one day they saw them going in, and the townspeople chased them, and they chased them up, and they hung them on our property. Is the story. Now, is it true? I don't know, but I've heard it from a lot of people. But the guy that owns the mansion, he let us come in, and he showed us they had all these fake walkways and escape routes and everything else in that place. So there was some stuff going on, but there were 3 of them that were hung, like supposedly in the big tree in our backyard.
That's creepy.
That would explain a lot.
That's like the Al Capone story, the Valentine's Day Massacre. They feel that area is still haunted over there.
Well, I'm from Chicago, so I'm very well aware of that place. You know that dogs won't go anywhere near that place?
Are you serious?
Yeah, even guard dogs and stuff, they get there and they shy away and they don't want to go anywhere near it.
Wow.
That's amazing. I guess like the spirits, would you say residual? It's residual energy from the murders that took place on these properties that are still able to haunt in a way?
Well, I would say it's probably not residual. Residual is just like something playing over and over again.
Right.
I've never seen any animals really react to that unless they see something move, right? Mm-hmm. For them to shy away before they get there, that means there's still got to be a presence there, like an intelligent haunting, which can, interact with you. So I think they pick up on that it's an actual spirit or spirits that are still there. When you get gunned down, with machine guns, there's bound to leave an impact of some kind.
Of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, so let's talk about your book. I mean, you have like a lot of stories in there of all the places that you've gone. What is the most scariest, intense location that you put in your book?
Well, there's several actually. There's actually several that are right up there. The house in Texas is right up there. A place called Bolton Abbey in Yorkshire, England, was off the charts haunted. I mean, one guy got knocked out while we were there. I mean, wow. Yeah, it was strange. One girl who was walking through this gate, she had on a necklace that was blessed by the Vatican, and the necklace went yank, and I actually saw that happen. Yeah, that place was really, really bizarre. The other place that really got me was Leap Castle in Ireland, and I won't give you the whole story because it's the final story in the book. But something attached to me, I believe. All of a sudden, I was standing outside. We got there about an hour or two early. It was like 11 at night, and I was there with the Scottish Paranormal guys, who are maybe the best ghost hunting team in the world. They're that good. Matter of fact, they have a TV show now called Spooked Scotland. I don't know what channel it's on, but it's being filmed now. But I mean, these guys are really on top of it, and even what they say in the book, they will tell you that they actually went to the laird of the mansion or the laird of the castle and said, "We may need to get an ambulance out here." And the guy goes, "Why?" And he said, "We think Rick is dying." And Rick was in the car, and he was positive he was dying. So it's a very intense story, a long story, too long to tell everybody. But it turns out that I think something that attached to me, and it almost killed me. And I'm not kidding. And I'm not no exaggeration. I was in the car. I had felt like something went through my eye and out the back of my head. Right. And I was holding my eye and water was gushing out of it. And the guys helped me in the car, and I'm just sitting in there. And they went in to hunt. I said, "Don't wait for me. Just let me sit here and relax in the car." And then my vision started going side to side. And I'm like, "Oh, that's not a good sign." Right. And then, remember the old iris that was on the old movies when it was over, it would go, go down to a black dot. My vision started doing to that. And I went, I know what that is, right? From here down, all my energy flushed right out of my body. Like, when you flush the toilet in an airplane, like that. It wasn't gradual. It went boom, right? And I'm just laying there. And I mean, I got no energy, and my vision's going and everything else. And fortunately, I said something just because it's kind of my feeling about life. As I said out loud, I said, I've got to do a lot of things other people haven't. I've got to see most everything I wanted to. So if today's my day, I'm okay with it. And about 2 minutes later, all my energy came flowing back into me. And within half an hour, I felt okay. But I'll tell you the hook to the whole thing. But there's so much more that you could read in the book about what it was going on. But just so, I don't sit here telling you one story the whole time. One of the guys, somebody sent me a message and they said, by the way, you remember when your eyes started hurting we were at, how's the name of that place? In Dublin, the Hellfire Club. Two of the guys started getting the pain behind their right eye and then it went away. And then as we got to the place, that's when something just went boom, hit me in the eye and about knocked me out. It really did. This is a strange thing too. I said, you know what, Rick, you've been doing stunts for forever, and I'm staggering backwards across the street. I said, fall down while you still can. Right. And as soon as I started to fall down, I heard a voice say, if you hit the ground, you'll never get up.
Wow.
So, yeah. Very, very strange. But here's the hook. Somebody sent me a message and said, we did some research about the Hellfire Club, found out that two guys had a duel, and one guy got shot through the right eye and died. Now, I figure that spirit attached to me. And because I was feeling everything of a person dying and, the blast in the eye and everything else. It was so weird because when I got it, I felt something go from my eye. I could feel it go out the back of my head. I mean, It was the weirdest thing you'll ever feel in your life. But what I really think happened is that the spirit wanted to show somebody what had happened to him. Yeah. And it tried to attach to the other two guys, and they weren't as open to things as I am. Yeah. So finally, when I got somebody, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. But what I think happened is when I said, if today's my day, I'm okay with it. I think the spirit went, no, that's not what I want. I just wanted somebody to know what happened to me and backed off. And I think if I hadn't said that, you wouldn't be talking to me.
Wow, that is some story.
It makes you think the spirits have that much power and energy. And then you have to ask the question, why hasn't science ever figured this out? It's like you have the non-believe science that don't believe in it. And then you have people like myself and you and my wife and hundreds of thousands of others that do have these experiences, that do believe it. And
it's a simple answer, Philip. How many scientists go ghost hunting? How many scientists have put time in trying to figure out if they exist? Pretty much none. Okay? Anything that's on the outskirts of the normal, the paranormal, UFOs, Bigfoot, cryptids, they don't want anything to do with because they'll get shunned by their peers. So a lot of stuff that should be being investigated isn't, just out of fear. So that's.
You think that's what it is?
Sure it is. They don't want to be the one that comes out and says, we know there's ghosts, but we can't prove it.
Yeah. It's sad because, if science, like I said, if it would take a bigger step forward in research, then we can get closer to that communication. Even people that lost loved ones could probably get a lot closer to the other side in some respect. I mean, because what you're selling, these stories you're telling us, are amazing. And I'm saying to myself, every time you're telling us one of these stories, is that there's so much energy and strength and power on the other side that they could do these things, make you feel like you've been shot or stabbed and you almost pass out. Another guy almost dies. That's crazy. But yet, if there was information going forward, I do believe it. Look, we've had experiences. Not what you had. You're having some pretty significant stuff over there that's happened to you, and that's I think it's great in a way because you're the messenger, teaching people that this is real.
Well, you know what? And I've actually had people tell me, like, on the back of my book, one of the things that one of the guys from Scottish Paranormal, like I said, is a fantastic group, great ghost hunters. And what he says on the back, he says, if Rick is there, spirit is there.
I was just going to say this.
That's, and it's pretty true. I mean, usually when I go someplace, I get stuff. Sometimes I get nothing, that's just the way ghost hunting is. But I go in and I open myself up, and sometimes it punches you in the face, just like happened to me at Hellfire Club and then over into Lep Castle. But yeah, there's no doubt that there's spirits here. I mean, I've had so many things. I got pushed down the stairs at the William Heath Davis house with someone sitting behind me and seeing it. I've been slapped in the head at chapel in the chapel at Balgony Castle, where somebody screamed and warned me something just popped up behind me. You know, there's so many things that have happened. The first thing that happened at my dad's place, this is before, you know, he told me the story. My friend Tom and my dad took this guy back to get his car. Now, my dad lived on a cul-de-sac, and I said, well, I'm tired. You know, where am I going to sleep? It's like 11 at night. And he says, go in that bedroom. So I go in there, and it's like a lady's bedroom because it's got the canopy bed, and you almost never see that in a guy's bedroom, right? So anyway, I go in there, and I lay down, and there's a window at the end. It's got a little moonlight coming in. And I lay down, and I hear, and I'm like, what was that? And I look around, I don't see anything. So I put my head back down, and I hear, and I'm like, does he have a dog? Because I just gotten there. So I got up and I opened up the drawer, the closet door to see if there was a dog in there. Got caught or looked under the bed, nothing. So I got back, nobody in the house, right? So I lay back down and I hear it again. And I look up and I see the air conditioning duct. It was like up along the side of the bed. And I thought, oh, it's just the air conditioning, you know, shutting off. You know, they go, shh. And I went, yeah, but they don't shut off 3 times in a row, right? So like I said, there's moonlight coming in. I can see everything in the room. So I sit up and I'm looking around. And right here on the back of behind my right ear and on my neck, I felt the heat and the breath. And it went, on my neck. And I jumped out of the bed, and the door had a slider lock on it. And I'm trying to get out, and I can't get the slider lock. So I just turned the handle, and I went, boom, and ripped the frame out on the one side. And I wanted out of there, right? There's no doubt something bad was in there. So I go outside, and I'm standing on the front lawn. All of this is in the book, too. So I'm standing on the front lawn. Here comes my dad, you know, back with Tom. And he gets out, and he looks at me. He walks up, and he smiles. He goes, he got you, didn't he? I said, what do you mean? He goes, I said, you know about that? He goes, happens all the time. Oh, wow. So that was my introduction that night to the house, to where I actually tore a door off the frame to get out. So yeah, I've had some pretty intense things happen, and they're out there. Trust me.
No, I agree with you. So we're talking about some of the things that spirits can do. And then my question is, can they be helpful? Okay, because when we investigate, we're like, can you hear us? But they're doing things for communication back to us. So can they help us?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to like pick up your equipment and help carry it out or anything. But, you know, you ask them questions, you know, can you make a knock? And you hear, right? They're being helpful. They're interacting with you. Could they save your life? Maybe, possibly, because if you imagine there was a bad person thinking of doing something to you in there, and the spirit showed up between you and them, yes, they could help you. Do I know of any stories like that? No, but I do know of spirits of animals that have showed up to help people. So, yeah, I would see no reason that they couldn't. You know, because like I said, I've been shoved down the stairs. It's just as easy for them to shove somebody else down the stairs as trying to hurt me.
Do you think a lot of these spirits were really, really trying to hurt you, or trying to tell you something, or maybe like a little bit of both?
Well, I think I know for one, the one in the house at my dad's house was very negative. Okay. Right? I think he was trying to scare me out of the house, and he did a damn good job of it. Right. But the other one that Lep Castle, I don't think it meant to hurt me. You know, I really don't. The one that slapped me in the back of the head, I think, was just trying to get my attention. It wasn't like Mike Tyson punched me. It was like, and it was funny because the girl that was sitting on one of the benches behind me went, Rick! And then, bam! And I said, what? She goes, I saw something look like it came up from the floor. And I said, yeah, it smacked me in the back of the head. So, Yeah, there's it's really interesting. I mean, some of the stuff in the book, if I didn't know me and know that it happened to me, I'm not sure I'd believe it. You know, it's pretty intense. But I did do something in the book, and I don't want to keep belating the book, but anytime there was somebody else there, I let them put their version in of what they saw. So it's not me just making a narrative and making myself sound better. The girl who was behind me when I got shoved, her version's in it. What happened at Lep Castle, the Scottish paranormal guys are in it. What happened at Bolton Abbey, the Anubis paranormal people have, put their stuff in. Other people, when we did the Real Mary King's Close, I let them put what they saw in. So it's just not me giving a narrative, because anybody can write anything they want.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And then they, without having pictures and evidence and everything else, although I do have some pictures and evidence and stuff, but it's yes.
I love when authors do that. You did that with your book too. You take, what people are saying.
Yeah. I mean, it just gives more validity to the book. Yeah. When instead of you just saying, giving your narrative, when the other people that were actually standing there and saw it. I'll tell you another one at the Hellfire Club in Dublin. I was with the Scottish Paranormal. It was just before we went to Lep Castle. And one of my relatives was one of the original founders of the Hellfire Club. Isn't that cool? Yeah, wow. John Wilkes' name was. And at one time he was the Lord Mayor of London, and he was in Parliament. And he actually helped out the Americans so much that they actually named Wilkes Barre after him and another guy that had helped them, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. But I got there, and they had the Frank's box out. Now, I know you guys and your listeners are aware of what that is. It's, it's like a spirit box on steroids. And they were asking questions, and nothing was coming through. So I walked up, I said, "Can I try it?" They said, "Sure." So I just said, "Hi, my name's Rick. I came here from the United States to see if I could say hello to my relative, John Wilkes." And then it said something like elbow, lint, a couple words that meant nothing, right? And then it goes, "Relative?" And the people, they jump back a little bit because it's exactly what I just asked, right? And I said, "Yeah, I'm your relative, John Wilkes." I said, "I just really wanted to say hi." And it goes, "Hi, Rick." Right? Now they're like, "Whoa," right? So as we went a little bit farther, I said, "Look, I think I'm really talking to John Wilkes here. So I got to ask you a question. This will tell me if you're really my relative or not, because I would have done the same thing." I said, "Did you really dress a baboon up like Satan and turn him loose into the tunnels?" Right? And it said a couple words, and then it goes, "Baboon." Now, that you can get those three things in like 4 minutes of talking, the odds of that are astronomical, that it could say "Hi, Rick," relative, and baboon. I mean, those, so stuff like that happens to me a lot, believe it or not. So
you're like a lighthouse.
Yeah.
Well, everybody that ghost hunts with me, they go, "Man, they just seem to come to you." And I go, "Well, it's because I ask them to. I open myself up, and sometimes let me give you a good clue. It's not always the best thing. You open your door, you don't know who's coming in. And I've learned that. So, but I still invite them in because if they're lost souls, I want to help them. So, I'm willing to take that risk to see if I can't get some interaction and help them. So,
I like that. But let's talk about miracles now. Yeah, there are miracles in the supernatural. Let's talk about these stories where there's a car on top of a little kid, and the mother can lift up part of the car to get the kid out. And these are true documented stories. And then she'll come forward and say, I could almost swear that something else helped me lift this car up. Or what about 90 Minutes in Heaven when he felt like someone was in the car when he was dying from the tractor trailer that ran over the car? And what about these stories? So now, is it possible that these are the good spirits coming forward helping?
Well, I would say it's either your guardian angel or it's actually a relative that comes back to help you. Because I have had it happen to me twice.
Really?
Twice. I was driving back to Tennessee. My dad had died several years earlier. And my dad had a habit when I would stay at his house. The living room was about 40 feet from his bedroom, and my dad would put on enough Aramis to kill a gorilla. Right? He just loved Aramis cologne. So anytime he would pop out of his bedroom, I would holler. I said, "Here comes the French whore." Right? So that was our running joke that I would call him that with all that stuff on. But I was driving back to Tennessee, and I was in the speed lane. And on my left side, I'm going this way, and on the left side of me, outside the driver's door, there were these big cement road barriers, like construction, the big cement ones. And over here on the other side, on the passenger side, was one of those big tanker trucks with the 2 tanks. And I'm driving along, and I'm just getting ready to go in between the tanker truck and the cement borders. And just as I started to go in, my brakes locked, just dead locked up. And I mean, threw me forward. And fortunately, I've done enough stunt driving and stuff. I knew what to do, but I was trying to get it under control, and it's still locked up. The car's sliding. And finally, I start to move it a little bit. And the truck with the two big, containers on it comes flying over and smashes into the cement barriers. If that had not stopped me, I would be dead. And there's no doubt about it, because these went bam, right? And as soon as it went, the thing started to go past me, the brakes unlocked. So I was able to pull and go to the right real hard. And fortunately, there was nobody else coming. But I went around the thing, and I'm driving down the way, and the adrenaline rush that I had, I mean, my hands were vibrating and everything else in the car. And I was like, holy crap, that was close, right? And then all of a sudden, the inside of the car filled up with the smell of Aramis. So I think I might have had a little help.
There you go.
That's such a that's an amazing story. It really is.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. It's in the book.
Yeah, the positive things that spirits can do. I like it. And that's one of them. And there's many of these cases, we deal with the hauntings, and some are malevolent and some are very unfriendly, where people get attachments and we get drained. And then there's people who get the energy to do supernatural things when they need help. And I know some people say, well, it's the adrenaline and it's part of the brain, but they also say that they heard a voice and something else was helping them in these certain situations. And I do believe that sometimes the other side is looking out for us.
Oh, absolutely. I do have a friend. I can't remember what his name was, though. He was somebody that I had talked to a long time ago. And his story went all around the world. He was a cop in Utah. And somebody called and said there was a car that had gone off the road and was in the river. So he and the paramedics and stuff go in, and the water's not real deep, right? But they're upside down, and it's in the middle of winter. Everything's cold and everything else. So they're going down there, and they hear a lady yelling. Now, this is in the middle of nowhere, right? And you can actually hear it on the TV camera, because the TV crew showed up to film them. And they're going down the hill, and you hear, help us, right? And it's a lady yelling. And he gets down there, and there's a baby in a car seat upside down, because the car's upside down, and her head's about this far from the water. Okay, if she was a little farther down, she would have drowned, right? So they grab the baby, and they go to get the woman, and they realize this woman's been dead for a long time, right? The coroner said that he actually thought she died 14 hours earlier. But you can even hear on the tape the lady yelling, help us, help us. So
that was your friend? Your friend was the cop?
The chills.
Yeah. And I can't remember his name, though.
No, because I've heard of that story. I heard of that story on one of those shows. I've heard of it.
Maybe?
Yeah, I heard of that story. And that's a true story. And the baby was alive, but the mom was already dead.
Wow.
That's amazing. That is
quite
amazing.
a while. For quite a while, she'd been dead.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was the fact that the baby wasn't even really hypothermic, being 14 hours upside down. I mean, It's amazing. It's amazing. This guy actually, what was his name?
Yeah, I remember that. It was a true documented story.
Wow.
Yeah. There was a show based on that.
Yeah. Well, he wrote a book about it.
That's
And I
probably
have
why.
And they saw the cop hearing the lady. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can't find this here because it's actually a true story.
That's fascinating to me. And like I said, that's the positive things that the other side can do, right?
I wish everyone knew that. There's so many people when they hear paranormal, they just, they think of it in a negative way, and it's not always.
Well, I can tell you another story real quick. I was giving away my Forerunner, right? I was giving it to the Salvation Army, and I had Kreger mags on it, which were kind of expensive, if you remember those. And I had wheel locks on it, right? And I had, just because I'm not stupid, I had put the wheel locks in with the little kit that you can use to change the tire. Well, when I went to, I called up Salvation Army. They were coming that day to get the truck. I cleaned it all out, and I said, I better make sure the wheel lock is in here. So I unrolled the thing. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. They're like as flat as a piece of paper. You roll it out, and all the little tools are inside this thing. So you can just roll it back up into a small ball. Mm-hmm. So I took everything out of it. It was flat. I ran my hands over it. There was nothing in it and no wheel lock, And I was like, man, I cannot give this car to these people without having the wheel lock. I mean, it just, what if they have a flat? They can't get it off, right? So I'd already put it all back in, right? And I just looked up and I went, I really want to do something for these people and give them this car, but I can't do it with this. Can you help me a little bit here? And for some reason, I took the kit back out, and when I unrolled it, the wheel lock was sitting dead center in the middle of it.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'll tell you another thing.
Things like this. It's incredible.
I'll tell you another thing. Things like this happen to me all the time. My friends laugh about it. I'm really into Scotland, as you well know. I go every year for a month. I'm a member of Scottish Paranormal. As a matter of fact, I'm actually in their Hall of Fame, which is, yes.
Oh, wow.
The only reason I say that is because I'm not in any other Hall of Fames, and I'm probably never going to be in any other one, so I'm bragging about this one. Besides that, if I could pick which one I'd want to be in, it'd be theirs. But yeah, there's so many things that I find that are just so fascinating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really do. They're so fascinating.
What about when you started acting and you were on the movie sets? Have you ever had any kind of paranormal experiences doing filming?
Once. Just one time. I can't tell you the studio we were filming at, but we were filming a horror movie. Uh-huh. And the security guard told me that the upstairs by the offices and stuff was very haunted. So I asked him, I said, can I go up there? And he goes, sure. So I asked a couple people on the set, a couple actors. They said, no, I don't want to go up there. Well, the makeup girl wanted to go. So she and I go upstairs, and we're walking along, and I've got my equipment out. And there's a door at the end of the hallway with the light underneath. You know what I mean? Because there's light on the other side of the door, but it's dark in our hall. So you can see the light underneath of it. And all of a sudden, we both see this big black shape go right across that door, right? And I looked over and I said, you see that? And she goes, yeah. And then we looked, and all of a sudden, from under the door, we saw feet, blocking out the light, right? And then we heard a couple of voices. Well, here's the funny part. Up comes one of the actors and a different security guard. And I've got my K2 meter out, and it's been going off since we got up there. And this guy goes, what are you doing? I said, well, so-and-so said we could come up here. And he goes, yeah, he told me. He says, what are we doing? I said, we're ghost hunting. He goes, I don't believe in no damn ghosts. I said, okay. And he goes, what's that thing you got in your hand? I said, well, if it goes off, it means there might be a spirit in here. And he goes, well, have you seen anything at all? I said, well, we saw a big black shape. We saw feet under there, and we heard voices. And he goes, are you kidding us? I said, no. Right? And right then, the K2 goes off, all 5 lights. And the 2 guys turned and ran down the stairs. They just took off running. So that happened. That happened on a movie set. And I actually have it on tape somewhere where you can hear them yelling and running down the stairs. But I never played it.
They definitely follow you a lot.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, And people always say, well, why do you think they do? I said, because I open up to them. You know, if you figure out that you're a spirit, you've been there and you nobody to talk to, and somebody comes in and they're friendly, right? I never provoke, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never, right? And when I go in, I explain my equipment, right? Most people go in and say, light up the K2. Spirit's going like, what? What's a K2, right? So I usually go in there and I say, you see this thing in my hand? If you come close enough, it'll light up. So what we can do is if you want to talk to me, come close to me when it lights up. We'll use that for yes to my questions. If it's a no, just stay away. So then we'll be able to have a dialogue this way. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it happens all the time. When I did the LA Police Museum, there was Brandon Alvis, Kristen Lumen, and Susan Slaughter. Yeah. And they had been there the day before too, and they'd used my equipment. So we went downstairs and I took my K2 meter out, and Brandon goes, hey mate, we used that for 2 days. It never went off. And I said, oh, really? And then I explained it and I said, would you like to interact with me? Bam, all 5 lights. And they go, holy crap. Right.
You have a different way of approaching them. And they
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
It's okay. They respond well to you.
Well, they do actually. I tell people my way of ghost hunting is like if I went out into a field and saw a lost puppy, you can't chase it. It'll run away. A puppy will come to you when it trusts you. You put your hand out, it'll come up and smell you. And finally, when it likes you, it'll be all over you. Blah, 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 blah. And spirits are the same way. If you try and chase them or provoke them, you're not going to get anything. You know, you're really not. So I just go there and just be friendly with them. And, you know, sometimes it works. Sometimes I get nothing.
Yeah.
But most of the time I get stuff. So I'm pretty happy about that. That's why I keep going and doing it so often. You know.
Have you ever caught a full body apparition on film?
On film? Maybe on the FLIR I did. I wish I had a way of showing you right now. But yeah, what's so funny is it's only on the screen for 1 second. But it's obviously a person standing there. I mean, it's unquestionably a person standing there. I have had things where I was looking through the camera and saw something go by. When I was in England, just before we went to Bolton Abbey, where all the wild crap went on, we also went to a place called the Norwich Theater. And we ghost hunted the whole theater, and there was some activity, nothing off the charts, but enough to get your interest. And then we went downstairs underneath the stage. Now, this stage was an actual theater, not a movie theater, right? And they said, you can go downstairs, and in the middle of the room, going across the sideways, was a pipe about this big, maybe 8 inches in diameter. And they said, you can't go on the other side of that pipe because that's where all the electrical stuff is and the ropes for the curtains and everything else. And there was about 10 feet of area that was open till you got to it, but they just blocked that off. So we're all standing next to the pipe, right? And I look over, and right next to me, there's a guy has his head down, and it looks like he's looking at his phone or a K2 meter or something, but it's dark. But I see him standing there. And I turn around to say to the girl, Mandy Fellows, who runs Anubis, you know, don't you want to tell that guy to get on our side where he's supposed to be before we get in trouble? And I turn around and her eyes are real big. And I went, uh-oh. And I turned back and there's nobody standing there. And there's nowhere they could have gone because there's a pipe and it's all blocked off on the other side. Right? So I turned around and I looked at her. Let's see. Wait a minute here. Rick was ghost hunting with my group at the Norwich Theater here in England when he and I both saw a full body apparition 6 feet from us, and we both turned and said, did you see that? Mandy Fellows, Anubis Paranormal Investigations. So wow. That was her little blurb about what happened. But yeah, I could have touched the guy on the head. I mean, it was that close.
Do any of these spirits come in your dreams?
Good question.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some dreams I don't even want to get into, but I've had some dreams that were spectacular. Sometimes I have dreams when I'm awake. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. People sometimes, they call them lucid dreams. remember I was sitting there one day, I was watching TV, and all of a sudden it went pitch black inside my apartment in the middle of the daytime. And I was like, what's going on? And my first thought was, I'm dead, right? I'm in my apartment. It's pitch black in the middle of the day. The TV was on right in front of me, right? And I'm sitting there and I look and I see way off in the distance a little thing of light. And I went, holy crap, I'm in the, the tunnel, the valley of death. And, you got to walk through it and stuff. And I was like, and I was terrified, because I was afraid I wasn't going to be accepted at the other side, or something was going to grab me in the dark. And I just started walking, and I was scared every step of the way. When I got about 30 feet, I could see the light was getting lighter, and it looked like I was looking through wax paper. I could see figures, but I couldn't see who it was, but I could see the figures behind it. And then right then, something hit me in the ass. Bam, right? Another thing hit me in the ass. And then things started hitting me in the back of the legs, right? Knocking me forward. Bam, boom, right? Now I'm really scared, right? Well, I get up a little bit farther to where it's much lighter, and I look down, and it's all the dogs that I'd had in my life pushing me forward towards the light.
Wow.
So, and I'd had 2 Great Danes, I had 2 Dobermans, I had some big dogs, and I had some little ones too, but that's what were hitting me in the butt were the Great Danes, and down in the back of the legs was the Dobermans, and they were pushing me forward to go where I was supposed to go. So, yeah. Do spirits come into you in dreams? Yes. I also think that you're told things in dreams that you need to know.
True.
Matter of fact, it wasn't but about a week after that, a guy where I go to the market all the time, he was really upset because his dog died. And I said, can I tell you a little story? And I told him that, and he almost started crying.
Wow.
So was I shown that so I could tell him? I don't know. Maybe.
I love the animal stories and, the dreams and,
Have you ever been to a funeral / wake of someone that you knew, and then when you go to it, you actually somehow get a message from that person who's crossed over?
No, I've only been to a few wakes and funerals, and nothing happened. It's just like I never go to, I have, but as a general rule, I don't go to cemeteries. Okay. Just for the thing is, I feel that they've been put where they're supposed to go, and they deserve the respect of leaving them alone.
Yeah.
So I just kind of avoid that unless I hear stories of, real nasty activity, then I will go. And I will do everything I can to make them go away. So, yeah, it's a lot of interesting things in the world.
Yeah, most definitely. What's on your bucket list? Like, where do you want to go that you haven't been?
Ooh.
Well, there's a lot of places that I want to go, actually. I was supposed to go to Dracula's Castle 2 years ago, but that got knocked down because of the COVID. One place I'd like to go is right up the street from me, and that's where the Wonderland murders took place. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's where the porn star John Holmes was involved in killing these 4 people with iron pipes. I think that would definitely have some activity there. But the one place I'd like to go is up into the Tower in the Tower of London, where they had kept prisoners and, things like that. And they kept, supposedly one of the relatives, a female, was either horribly disfigured. It was a little bit on the insane side. And they locked her in the Tower of London, supposedly her whole life. And whether that's true, I don't know, but that's something that I was told. So, I would like to get up there. I would like to get up there. I would go up there and like to check that out. But yeah, I've managed to get into most of the places I've really wanted to get into. I've been into a lot of castles in Ireland and Scotland and England, and I've been to a lot of places here that you can't get into anymore. I've been lucky. Dark Zone TV has been doing live things, and I was able to be on the Queen Mary and at the LAPD Museum and different places with them. And Spirit Realm Network, I've been doing live events with them also. So I've been getting to go to a lot of places, to ghost hunt live. So that's pretty cool. Matter of fact, this coming up November 26th and 27th, they're doing a live stream. And we're going to be at the Mackey Mansion and the Washoe Club. And I'm going to be there with Patty Negri, who you may know. She's a very famous psychic medium, does a lot of stuff on Ghost Adventures. Yeah. So she's going to do this. Yeah, she's very nice. She's going to do the seance part, and then I'm going to do the ghost hunting parts. So that should be really interesting. Yeah.
Well,
long drive.
Rick, we're coming up to the end of the show, and I just wanted to say that, you are a pretty famous guy. You're very well known in the Hollywood world, horror films, and I appreciate how humble you are with your fans, and you're just a very nice guy, and I like that. I like, when you're very active with all of your fans, and that's great. So thank you.
Well, you know why? You know why? Because I like them.
Yes. Yeah.
That's simple. I told somebody earlier today. They said, "Why do you have so many friends? That you talk to on Facebook and stuff?" I said, "We meet them at conventions and things. We just stay friends." I said, but the thing is, the reason I think I'm friends with people is because I don't really have a very good sense of self. I don't go in there thinking I'm so and so. I've done this. I don't. I just go in there being Rick and hey, hug me, be my friend.
That's what everybody loves about you.
Yeah, that's all.
Sure.
Where can people find you?
Best place to find me is Rick McCallum on Facebook, Hollywood Ghost Hunters on Facebook, ghostbelieveinme.com. That's a link for the book, and I'm also doing a tour, 9-day tour in Scotland for ghost hunting, which is on there too. And if anybody's really interested in going ghost hunting, this would be a tour you might want to look into. So ghostbelieveinme.com.
Wow, nice.
Well, thank you, Rick.
Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. You're an awesome guest.
You really are.
I'll be here anytime you want. I mean,
thank you, Rick. Thank you so much.
I love talking to people. Even Philip, I'm talking to,
This is the first time we get to see each other.
Yes, we really appreciate you coming on.
Everyone, thank you so much. This is Horsefly Chronicles Radio signing off, and we'll catch you next week. Everyone, have a safe night.
And we have to say special thank you to Carnation for fully sponsoring the show. Join us next Monday night on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. Stay tuned for Laura Lee, the Angel Rock, coming up next.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.